Alright, so one of the biggest causes of jaggedness in a cut is going to come down to vector quality. Now what I'm seeing here is, this is fine actually, you only have 3 vectors along this line. This is what we like to see. So I don't know why you would have any problems along here. Usually problems related to things like this, where you have a jagged edge in a cut, usually don't come down to things like this. However, I will recommend checking some other settings here in just a moment. The biggest problem I see in this particular file is this. We see on the O here that there's about I can't even tell you how many vectors are here. I'm looking at this right now, and there is no way for me to quantify the exact amount of vectors that are sitting here. Yeah, I cannot find an appropriate number to describe this. So there you go. There's a lot of vectors there, meaning that when the plasma cutter goes to cut this, it's going to hit every single one of those nodes in an attempt to make that cut, and it's going to come out choppy, particularly along these edges here. You'll notice the same thing with the R, and any curved shape here is going to have that exact same problem, and that's just because usually within the context of QCAD, text does tend to get a little muddled, particularly along curved edges. So you're going to want to take a look at that, see if there's a way to clean this up. What I would personally do is take this into Inkscape and make those adjustments there, but that's the first thing that I would do. Now looking at SheetCam at this file, it looks like SheetCam has done a nice job of smoothing out this edge here. It actually doesn't look too bad. You do have a little bit of, you know, these angles cropping up here, but it looks pretty good. I can't really complain. So let's go ahead and take this apart further. One of the other things I'm noticing here is a give of slop here. So what ends up happening is this particular line will actually vanish as you're working with it. And there's 2 reasons behind that. One of the first things is a calculated error. So let's go ahead and use my 1/4 inch tool here, and we see that we have this gap. I'm going to right click, go to my measure tool here, and just measure this gap. Okay, so it's a little under a 1/16 of an inch. That's not terrible. That's a decent gap to have. But with plasma cutters, it's going to burn out a little bit more, so there is that to consider. However, the other thing is this kerf width here. It is set to the Hypertherm spec. If we try to change the kerf width here, it's not actually going to change the cut profile. It's not going to make it cut any thinner. It's just going to change the calculated offset that's used to determine the exact tool path for this. So if I were to change this to 0.325 and then just hit OK and OK, you'll notice that the line got thinner, but it actually won't cut any cleaner. It's not going to cut any deeper into this. So just keep that in mind when working with this. It's just not going to, it doesn't decrease the kerf width. I just want to make sure that that's stated. People ask about it, so there you go. Last thing that causes this particular issue is any slop, mechanical slop in the motion. And I do emphasize this as much as physically possible, just because many people set up their tables and give the gear just a little bit of lash in order to make sure that they're not exerting too much force on the gears, what have you. But as plasma is a non-contact system, we don't run into those types of forces. So what I'd like you to do is to ensure that the gear is completely meshed into that rack so that there is absolutely no motion when the control box is turned on. We do not want to hear a sound or watch any movement across that axis, and that's another thing that would cause this to move in such a manner, is that there. If I think of anything else for this, I'll let you know, but this is what I first see when looking at this file, and we can take it from there. Thanks.